Hey there everybody, what's going on? This is TwoHeadedFlounder. Welcome back to another live deck profile video. Today is probably going to be the last live one. I think we're going to be doing them via TCGO from this point on due to the fact that I really cannot stand my setup anymore. Probably it's also a lot more appealing to look at, so seeing how the new set is out, I think we can definitely justify doing so. So from this point onward, probably going to do all our deck profiles via the computer. So, yes. So I don't break my phone and the stand that I have for it. So this is going to be another requested deck. This is a Zoroark Banette deck. So I'm kind of interested in this one. So this is Banette GX. Banette has 190 HP for GX. Is pretty low for stage 1. Has a weakness to dark, which is really bad because of Zoroark, but a resistance to fighting, which is of course very good because of Buzzwole and I guess Lycanroc. So in conjunction, you would think that these two would pretty much go very well together due to the fact that they kind of deal with each other's stuff. So Banette is pretty interesting. So first off, it has an ability, Shadow Move. Once during your turn, if this is your active Pokemon, you may move 1 damage counter from any Pokemon to any other Pokemon in play. So essentially, you can take a damage counter off of one of your benched Pokemon, your active Pokemon. You can move it to your opponent's Pokemon, and vice versa. Maybe you want to play around with some damage. Maybe you're 10 short. Something along those lines could definitely help you out a whole lot. Then we have Shadow Chant 30+. This attack does 10 more damage, up to 100 additional damage for each supporter card in your discard pile. And Tomb Hunt GX. Put any 3 cards from your discard pile into your hand. So we've seen this GX attack on the Decidueye GX, but I think this is definitely very good because it's stage 1, and it seems to be a pretty solid pairing for Zoroark. Of course, the GX attack will allow us to grab double colorless energies from the discard pile, put them back into the deck, which is also great for Zoroark. But we can definitely reuse very powerful items, supporters, tools, and you know, maybe we can get a couple enhanced backs, choice bands, anything along those lines, anything that could honestly help us out a whole lot. So that is Banette in a nutshell. So what do we got going on here? Well, this is a Zoroark deck first and foremost, so we are playing, of course, a 4/4 line of Zoroark. So let me just put the Zora to the back because all you need to know is that they do 20 for a double colorless energy. Wow, that's a whole lot of damage. It's pretty astounding. So we got Zoroark, has the trade ability. Once during your turn, before you attack, you may discard a card from your hand. If you do, draw 2 cards. So right away, you can see how good in conjunction this is with Banette's attack because you can discard a supporter card. With trade, draw 2 cards. Banette is slowly getting powered up as you go over time. We don't ever use our GX attack because we can't really do so. We're weak to fighting, and we resist Psychic. So there is that. But Riotous Beating, definitely one of the best attacks in the game. Does so much damage for just a double colorless energy attachment. Putting this card in the top tier for sure because it is very, very strong and very, very powerful. So great overall card. Definitely going to see a whole lot of that after post rotation. So people were hyping this deck up for you know, the current standard format that we're in before the rotation, but I'm not sure how well it is going to be in the post rotation. So next up, we're playing 3 copies of this Shuppet. It just has more HP. Same kind of idea with Banette with its weakness and resistance. It does a little bit of damage with its attacks. Not really anything too stellar here. What can be mentioned though, for a single energy in a choice band, you could hit up to 80 on a Buzzwole if you really needed to. So there is that. So 3 copies of that. 2 copies of Banette GX. So people are thinking that in the standard format, this is a great way to counteract Buzzwall, just kind of like how Garbodor does with Garbodor Zoroark, but a little bit better, especially because of the GX attack and an ability that lets you move things around, damage around, and things like that. I'm not too sure, honestly. It could see a fair bit of play in post rotation. I'm not entirely sold on the deck just yet. I'll have to do some heavy testing with it. I feel like I have a lot of other decks in mind that just seem to be a lot better, but you know, I can definitely see a pretty good thing going on with Banette doing 130 plus just for a single psychic energy. That's pretty nuts. So I can definitely see where this is going and why people are doing it. But 2 copies of that, and I am actually playing 1 copy of the other Banette. So this one might seem a little weird, but stage 1, 90 HP, same resistance or weakness. But we have an ability here, Red Eyes. Once during your turn, when you play this card to evolve one of your Pokemon, you can play Red Eyes Blacktrack now. You get to search your opponent's discard pile for a basic Pokemon and put it onto their bench. This could be relevant in grabbing something like a Lele that you might want to knock out later. It could be you grabbing just like a Pikachu, because you have 1 prize card left, and knocking out a Pikachu would be easier than knocking out a Metagross. Something like that. You understand what I'm saying. A Beldum, as opposed, whatever. You get the point. So, I do like this one. This one is not going to be like, oh, let's play this every game, but it's going to be like, I could really use something easy to knock out here. Why don't we get that? And then, of course, we have Enemy Show. Put as many damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like as your opponent has in play. Pokemon in play. So, if they have 4 Pokemon in play, you get to do 4 damage counters anywhere you want. This could be good for picking off 2 things on the bench. Maybe they have a full setup, 6 Pokemon in play, and then you're just gonna go like, well, why don't we put 4 damage to knock out this guy, and then the other 2 damage to knock out this guy? So, I think this is a pretty solid tech overall. I mean, it kind of just goes with the deck in general, so why not play a copy of it? Next up, we are playing 2 copies of Lele. One are tagged, too good not to use. Search your deck for a supporter, put it into our hand. That's a great way to also benefit with Banette. We can grab a supporter, get into this card pile, then use Banette's attack, power up slightly, things like that. But Energy Drive, great backup attacker, double colorless energy, 1 retreat cost. This is actually one of those rare instances where we can actually use Tapu Cure, because we're playing Psychic Energy in the deck, obviously. I wouldn't recommend it. The only GX attack you ever want to use in the deck is Banette's GX attack, because it'll let you get valuable resources back. But yeah, there's definitely going to be some times where you're just going to be like, I could Tapu Cure here and heal my Zoroarks up to full. Yeah. So yeah, there is that possibility. So now we have 2 one-off guys in this deck. We have Shining Lugia, because as you can see, we kind of don't really have anything to deal with Hoopa or Lowland Ninetales. So Shining Lugia will do the job. Very important to have a counter to one of those in the post rotation. Seriously, they're going to be played, so make sure you have your counters ready. Shining Lugia just has a good amount of HP, different weakness, but a resistance to fighting nonetheless, which is great. And the Argent Wing, which does 60 plus 60 if your opponent's Pokemon has an ability, which of course is exactly enough to knock out both Hoopa and Alolan Ninetales, which is fantastic. And last but not least, we have a copy of Tapu Koko, because Free Retreat is awesome, Flying Flip is a great attack, and why not, right? If we can lead off with it, then that's a pretty solid lead in my book. Just being able to Flying Flip and put 20 damage on everything is also pretty solid. It could additionally add up in allowing Zoroark to maybe get a 1-hit KO on something down the road. So I like that a whole lot, and you know, people should definitely play a copy of this in their deck if they have room for it, because it's pretty solid. So that's it for Pokemon. Moving on to our supporters, we have quite a bit. So of course we got 4 copies of Cynthia because it is the best draw support in the post-rotation game. Very good card, going to allow us to shuffle our hand to our deck, draw 6 cards. Of course, this is great with Zoroark because we can go ahead and then trade after it and get up to 7, 8 cards in our hand, and that's pretty awesome. So I like that one a whole lot. Definitely going to be a 4 of, especially in a deck like this. So this is the first time in a long time that we've seen a 4 of Guzma in a deck. So again, you know, just 1 for consistency reasons, great to have 4 Guzma, but 2, Banette just really benefits from supporters in discard piles. So if we have to trade Guzma away 1 turn, then that's fine. If we want to use Banette's ability to get our GX deck to get Guzma back, that's fine as well. But yeah, 4 copy of Guzma because it's a very solid card. Of course, also really good with Tapu Koko, allowing us to Guzma, get some free retreat, and then go back out into whatever we want to go into. Next up, we have 2 copies of Copycat because it's just a pretty solid supporter. Being able to copy the amount of cards in our opponent's hand. If they're going hard on drawing cards, we're going to be able to draw a whole lot. And also, we're playing Zoroark, so we get to draw them they have and then add on to it. So just overall pretty solid, and if our opponent gets too greedy, then we get to benefit from it. So 2 copies of that. Next up, we have 2 copies of Judge. We are playing Zoroark, and I say this pretty much all the time when we have Zoroark in the deck. Play Judge with Zoroark. If you're not playing Zoroark, I don't know about Judge. I honestly don't. I feel like it's only really good with Zoroark, but it definitely has its uses. There's some possibilities and stuff, but you get to essentially put your opponent down to 4 cards if they're not playing a Zoroark deck. You get to draw that 4, and they gonna have to deal with it. So Judge is a pretty good supporter in that sense, especially when we have the ability to discard it and not worry about it and get extra damage off of it as well. So the first thing that came to my mind with Banette was, what's a good way to additionally play supporters but do some extra damage? Well, why not Kukui? So here's what Kukui does for this deck. It allows Zoroark GX to knock out Baby Buzzwole with 1 hit, which is very nice. It allows you to maybe get the additional damage output that you need for the turn by adding the 20, but also adding an additional 10 for being in the discard pile with Banette. So it's essentially adding an extra 30 damage to it. And with a Choice Band, you know, that can equal up to 180 on something that's weak to Psychic. Not to mention if you don't already have other supporters in the discard pile, which you probably will. So, yeah, I think Kukui is a pretty good inclusion in this deck overall. So, we're playing it. We're playing 2 copies of Pokemon Fan Club. I know, crazy. I never play 2 copies of Fan Club in a deck. It's just good. Turn 1 Lele, Pokemon Fan Club, grab, I guess, 2 Zora, maybe a Zora, Shuppet, whatever you want, whatever you may need. Just get them into play. You have another one. If you want to use the other one, go ahead. If you want to trade it away, go ahead. People did that with Bridget a lot. You know, just played 3 copied Bridget. They used 1, and then the rest were trade fodder. So why not play 2 copies of Fan Club? Because we can. And on to our one-off supporters. So I feel like you could definitely swap this around with like an Acerola if you really wanted to, but a copy of Mallow, because being able to put 2 cards that we definitely want on top of our deck and then being able to trade into them is very good. Maybe we need Choice Band double colorless to you know, generate a knockout. Maybe we want to get a enhanced hammer and remove an energy for the turn, but whatever it may be, Mallow is a pretty solid supporter when you're playing Zoroark, so why not include her? And then, of course, we're playing a copy of Acerola. Again, if you want to drop Mallow for a second copy of Acerola, go for it. I don't think that's a bad option at all. Definitely just conserve all of your energy, your Pokemon, not giving up prizes to your opponent. It's just great. So I definitely can understand why wanting to put a second copy of Acerola into your deck is a good option, but I'm just rolling with the one for now. Kind of just seeing how Malo does for me. If Malo is most situations, then maybe I'll go with Acerola, but I think there's a good balance between them, especially because I'm playing Palpad, so we get to reuse a few of these, regardless. So there is also always that. Honestly, this is like a supporter toolbox deck. So next up, we have 4 copies of Ultra Ball because it is our best Pokemon search tool in the game. It's the best support for grabbing the Pokemon we want when we need it. So, of course, we'll be playing that. Plus, it also allows us to get supporters in this card pile. So, just great synergy. Next up, we're playing 2 copies of Mysterious Treasure. Discard a card from your hand. If you do, search your deck for a Psychic or Dragon Pokemon. Reveal it and put it into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. So, this is going to search out our entire Shuppet Banette line, but is also a great way to get Lele if we have this in our opening hand and we don't really want to Ultra Ball some of the other stuff. Well, then we have Mysterious Treasure and we only have to discard 1 other card. So there's always that, and I like that a whole lot instead of having to Ultra Ball a whole lot. So, hey, Mysterious Treasure works, and it's a great card. So, next up, we're playing 3 copies of Choice Band. So Choice Band is a pretty solid card, obviously. It's going to allow us to hit better numbers and maybe get some of those knockouts that we really, really want. Definitely going to help with knocking out something like Buzzwole with Banette, so definitely got to include it, but also it's just great with Zoroark and Choice Band. Kukubi could hit for 170 on a Lele with Zoroark, which could definitely, just benefit us a whole lot. So, Choice Band, 3 copies of them. So, I know that this is kind of a standard thing at the moment, and I'm not sure how people feel about weakness policy during the post rotation, but Tord's deck that he did really well with, of course, when he was playing weakness policy with Zoroark, it seems like a no-brainer, but also Banette can use this. Zoroark is going to be pretty rampant in the next format because it's good. So Banette not having a weakness to Zoroark is kind of a big deal. So instead of getting 1-shot, it'll be 2-shot, and that is a lot of difference. You could Acerola by then, you could swap him out, put up your own guy, do some other stuff, but just basically being able to do this, I think, is a step in the right direction for the next format, and just kind of being like, alright, well, you're playing Buzzwole, weakness policy, and then I'll take knockout on your Buzzwole, but now you can't hit me for super effective damage unless you have a Field Blower. So I really do like weakness policy, and it's nice that it's finally getting played. So next up, we got 2 copies of Field Blower. So it is really hard to tell what stadiums are going to be played, if any are, how many tools are being played, if it's important to remove them, is 1 Field Blower good enough? But I'm running 2 for now. If I don't need the other one, it's trade fodder. If I do need it, then I need it. I feel like just being able to have 2 Field Blower in our deck is very important, and it's great for dealing with something like Metagross or Scizor and Metal Frying Pan stuff, so I just like this a whole lot. Next up, we have a copy of Rescue Stretcher, because getting our Pokemon is very important, and sometimes we're going to have discarded a Pokemon and just want to get it right back, and other times we're going to want to shuffle a couple of our Pokemon back into our deck because we're going to need that. So Stretcher is very important for that. And it's not lastly, there's a couple other ones. So next up, we have Palpad. Palpad is a great item card. It's going to allow us to shuffle 2 supports from discard pile back into our deck. Of course, it's going to allow us to reuse powerful ones like Acerola, Malo, Guzma, Cynthia, you name it. And I just really like Palpad a whole lot, and it goes in all of my decks. And lastly, for item cards, because I completely forgot, Enhanced Hammer. Discard a special energy attached to one of your opponent's Pokemon. There is no way to retrieve special energy in the next format other than GX attacks. So, yeah, Enhanced Hammer is super solid because of that. Discard special energy if you're going against Zoroark. Remove one of their energies from play. Now they're really just rolling on 3, and that's always great. So it's a nice way to slow down your opponent, but also just really good card in general. So for our energy lineup, we have 4 double colorless. Obvious, you know. 4 because we have 4 Zoroark. Lele can use it. Coco and Lugia can use it. So you know what's here. Probably the most important energy in the deck. And lastly, so I'm actually playing a little bit more than I've seen a lot of people put into their lists. I'm playing 4 Psychic Energy. I don't like playing 2. I don't like playing 3. If people are comfortable with doing that, then, you know, you go ahead and do that. I've played many games where I've prized important cards and wish I played a higher count of them. So I never played just 3 of any energy in the deck. My lowest amount I'll go down to is 4. Unless it's like a counter energy and I'm playing a full special energy deck. Something weird, but always have to have 4 basic energy when I play basic energy just because it makes me feel good and I feel like I can just rely on having that in my deck. Plus there's an extra slot, so there's that. So maybe 2 of these can be dedicated to Zoroark. Maybe we can dedicate 2 of these to Baby Banette, but these 2 will go to Banette GX. But maybe 2 of them are prized, so having these 2 is now very important. So that's why I do what I do, and 4 copies seems relatively okay. So a couple of the texts that I think that you can definitely throw into this deck to make it slightly better if you would want to. We got Timer Ball. Flip 2 coins for each head. Search your deck for an Evolutions card, put it into your hand. Obviously a great way to evolve Zoroark and Banette. We have Counter Catcher. As long as you're down in the prize race, your opponent has more prize or less has less prizes than you because they've taken more. You get to essentially Guzma up something for free, or Lysander effect, or Pokemon Catcher effect them up. So bring up one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active spot, and you know, this is a great way to definitely be able to knock out a Lele in one turn with Kukui. Acrobike. Not like a whole play set, but maybe 2 or 3 could definitely fit into this deck. Just discarding supporters if you don't need them. Other things as well if you have the room for it. Why not try Acrobike? It's another great draw engine. And lastly, why not a second Enhanced Hammer? Just removing a couple of double colorless from your opponent's side of the field during a game seems pretty good to me. So Enhanced Hammer is a pretty solid card overall. But with that being said, that is going to do it for our Zoroark Banette list for the post-rotation format. I'm not entirely sure, again, how well this deck is going to do in post-rotation. I know a lot of people are hyping up for pre-rotation, but post-rotation is a whole nother story. Yet to be seen what's going to be good there or not, and who knows. So, hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, feel free to leave a like, comment, or subscribe. I want to thank you guys all so much for allowing me to hit 300 subscribers. It's really awesome. I really appreciate all the support you guys have been giving me lately. And with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. Until then, I will see you all next time.